White rabbit, white rabbit, white rabbit. Happy New Year. Is it just my family that says white rabbit like that? Anyway, saying white rabbit 3 times is what you do at the beginning of the year. I hope you have a lovely and happy New Year, and I hope 2019 treats you really well. For this, I wanted to do a little series of mini videos, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've done over the year, knitting, a little bit of spinning as well, and hand dyeing. And I also wanted to have a bit of time to look at Christmas decorations. I know I should really have done that for Vlogmas, but Vlogmas occurs in a really busy time of the year, and I do a lot of things with my family, and that's not what I'm going to show you. So I've filmed some Christmas decorations around Sydney, and so I was going to take this time to do a little review and look at the Christmas decorations that there are here. But first off, I wanted to talk to you about some of the things I'm working on. So normally these would be called whips. I don't know if I call them that. Just things I'm doing, things I'm making. I also don't get particularly stressed about them or the number of them, because I try to avoid doing deadline-based craft things that can go badly wrong, I've discovered. So I try to just make things that I'm interested in, and if I lose interest, that's totally fine, because particularly with wool, I'll just pull it out again, undo it, and make it into something new. And you can do that with knitting. That's one of the best things about knitting. Sewing is a little scarier. You've cut it, so it's a bit harder, but it's still possible to change your mind and make something else. So these are just the things I'm working on kind of at the moment. They're at least in my mind. But no, I'm not worried about the number of whips that I have. I've been really enjoying Caroline's podcast and her Blame Dunder Knit Along, which I've been kind of participating in, although to be fair, I probably am going to knit what I want to knit. She has the Knitting Vicariously podcast. Is that right? I almost feel I've said the wrong thing. Anyhow, I'll go on and talk to you about my whips. This first one is a cowl. Now, I haven't really thought about how you say this. I think it's Alanumo. It's by Isolde from a few years ago. And this I'm knitting in Quince & Company Chickadee. This, you can tell, it's one of my favorite colors to wear. So, not necessarily for designs like the quilt design that you can see behind me, which is a bit brighter, but I know that greens are in general a lovely safe color for me to wear, and I'm really, really enjoying knitting this. I think that all of the textures coming up really nicely on screen. So it's like a Guernsey jersey. Actually, I've only read those words, but it's a UK style of knitting that it's inspired by. That is very textural, and I really enjoy it. I'm in no hurry to finish it because this is my knitting for when I'm waiting for someone. So I'm just, now it's school holidays. It's the long summer school holidays in Australia. Now it's school holidays, I'm just going to put this aside and wait until school goes back. My next project I did kind of start as part of the Dunder Knit Along. These are some socks. They're part of Mina Phillips' Wanderlust sock club, I think. And I can't remember the exact name of them. I'm sorry. But at any rate, they've just got a simple texture. Mina has you do it on half the sock. I've done it all the way around. And actually probably that's a bit of a problem because I am finding them a bit tiring. But I think I've got one more round and then I need to do the heel, so I really should get back to them. I'm knitting them on these tiny little needles that I actually quite like, mainly because your stitches don't fall off. And I really hate stitches falling off DPNs, and I don't really enjoy a magic loop very much. So these are some socks. They'll be for me. There's no hurry really, and I do like the texture. Again, I think you can see it there. Okay, so it's New Year's Day, and I thought, well, I have been thinking of casting something on, and I don't usually cast something on for New Year's. I mean, I just cast things on when I would like to knit them. But I thought it would be fun and something, you know, you're a bit tired on New Year's Day. You just like to do something quiet and calm. So this is what I have been working on. Yep, that's the front. It's a tiny bit, and maybe you recognize it. It's Vertices Unite by Stevens West. And this one, actually, he was doing a mystery knit along recently, and I thought I'd participate in that because it looked really interesting. I'm not great with mystery knit alongs, but anyway, I thought I'd give it a go. But I thought, okay, I don't want to go out and buy something special for it. So these are kind of skeins that were a project, have been pulled out of a project, as you can see by the twistiness of this. This is wired for fibre. I don't think she dyes anymore. She was an Australian dyer, and the first, actually the first indie dyer I ever bought something from, and I don't know when that was, but it was a very long time ago. I also am going to use these two colours. These are Kefir Facet inspired colours. I bought them a very long time ago. I bought 2 balls of each at a stage when my children could have had a jumper from 2 balls of sock yarn, and they definitely could not now. So these are really old. And I bought this bright red. You can see that I love red. I bought this bright red to go with it and give it a pickup of colour. In the end, I decided I didn't want to do the mystery knit along. I felt that the shape wouldn't really work on me. I really love the texture. I think it's really interesting. But I decided against it, and I've been wanting to make the Vertices Unite for absolute ages. But I've been thinking, I've got to have the absolute perfect yarn for it, like maybe I've got to hand dye it, or it's got to be a special skein, and I've put it off and put it off. So I decided, alright, no, I may as well just knit it with what I've got. It's a way of using these things. That this was a citron at one stage, it is not now. This has been some gloves, and then, yes, a child's jumper, and none of those have worked. So why not? I've got nothing to lose in giving it a go with these miscellaneous skeins. And actually, this last project, which you can't see, it's Sigrun by Jennifer Steingass. It's actually a little bit in the same vein. I've had this colour. It actually has slight red fleck in it. I don't know if you can see that. And this colour, for a very long time in my projects, it was meant to be something by Tin Can Knits. And it sat there since, I think I looked since 2011. And I haven't progressed past like that much. It's a top down. And I've just knit that much and stopped for years, apparently. So I looked at it recently and went, no, why not? It can be something else. So I bought this bright blue to go with it. This is all Estate 8-ply from Morris & Sons, which is a local yarn store in Sydney. and they have a lot of their own in-house ranges, and this is from their in-house range. I don't know actually how this is going to go. This section here, the stranded colour work, I'd forgotten. I mean, I've listened and I've heard you have to go either up a needle size or down a needle size for colour work, and I actually couldn't remember. I went down, and no, the received wisdom is you actually go up a needle size. But oh well. What I found is actually this is pretty good on the row gauge, and this, when I went back to a more normal needle size, is pretty good for the stitch count. So I'm in two minds as to what I do, but as you can see, I'm just doing decreases up the body, and most of the body is going to be this color here. So actually, like, I've got plenty of time to decide, and even if in the end I decide I'll just remove this short bit and re-knit it, because at the end I decide that a different gauge is better, doesn't really matter. So I think I'll just keep knitting on it slowly though, because I don't know if you've realized it's extremely hot in Australia in December usually, and today is definitely very hot. I can still enjoy knitting, but sometimes not a larger, big bulky object. So those are the 4 things I'm kind of working on at the moment. I hope to have a more regular podcast this year, so I hope to update you on their progress. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the second part of this series, which is going to be looking at the Christmas trees and decorations in different council areas that I've been past in December. I hope you enjoy. So the first Christmas tree we're going to look at is next to Rozelle Public School. So it's in the Inner West Council area. And I'll just give you a bit better look at the details. I really like those lights interspersed in those. Are they anemones or flowers? What do you think? I also love the reuse recycle. I'm wondering whether that was graffiti they've covered over or the previous council name, because you know about the council amalgamations in Sydney, if you're into Sydney politics. And this is ultra sweet. Someone has added these little bits. They're just at hand height. And I think it's so nice that someone's taken ownership of the tree and felt it was part of them and wanted to decorate it. This is in Chatswood in the Willoughby council area, and I don't think this tree is looking its best because it was a very grey and rainy day when I filmed it. Yes, those are flat discs, and yes, they are reflective. Hello! And finally, we're going to visit the centre of the city. This is Martin Place, and so it's the City of Sydney Council area. Those flowers are actually here all year round, but they look very festive with the banners flying above them. The new share bike scheme is apparently green, and here's a bit of a closer look at the flowers. Sydney is really close to the water, so the seagulls come into the city. Standing near the fountain is really lovely on a hot day. That's where the seagull was standing too. So from a distance, this looks your typical traditional Christmas tree, all red and green and white, and yeah, totally traditional. And when you look up close, you can see that actually in amongst the branches are all these Australian flowers. I can see a banksia, some flannel flowers, wattle, those must be waratahs, there's some bottle brushes, there's some kangaroo paws mixed in. It's really, really cool. I think the City of Sydney has done really well. It's such a clever idea. And just to give you an idea of where the tree's located, it's Martin Place, the centre of Sydney, and it's opposite the tomb of the unknown soldier. I hope you've enjoyed watching today, and see you again very soon.